Hello everybody! Today I am breaking down my 10 tips for writing an effective, entertaining, juicy sequel. Through my research, I found out that different writers have different definitions of what a sequel is, which I found odd. So I'm gonna keep shit simple. According to the dictionary, a sequel is a publication that continues the story or develops the theme of an earlier publication. And that's what we're talking about today. This topic was requested by one of my patrons over on Patreon, Laureen Bruder. She wanted to know all the tips for writing a sequel, like how to avoid saggy middle book syndrome and how to keep the sequel fresh. You guys probably know that I am currently writing the sequel to the Savior series, The Savior's Army, so now felt like a good time to cover this topic. Maybe once I'm done with TSA, I will have even more tips to share, who knows? Before we get started, I want to say a huge thank you to NovelPad, who has sponsored today's video. NovelPad is a straightforward, easy-to-use software for novelists that helps them write their very own novel, as its name suggests. Every feature is designed to help you remember what you are working on as quickly as possible and to keep you one click away from writing at all times. And it also lets you track your work from as many angles as possible. You can see it from a character perspective, on a scene or chapter basis. You can track it based on plot, on subplots or settings, and you can use their insight board to view your novel through two side-by-side categories. One of my favorite features is their color coding option. You probably know I like to color code my edits, and NovelPad makes that really easy. Plus, you can label the colors for more transparent tracking. They also add new features constantly. They recently added offline mode, which basically means you can write anywhere, anytime, no internet required. Typewriter mode, collapsing chapter headers, improved import functions, and they've integrated with Pro Writing Aid, which means you get access to Pro Writing Aid's grammar and spelling checkers. But my favorite new feature, shocking no one, is its goals and analytics feature. This allows you to set writing goals, track your writing progress, analyze your projections, all that good stuff that my goal-setting heart requires. If you're interested in trying out NovelPad, personally, I'm a fan. You can try them out with their free 14-day trial. There's no credit card required, which means there's no risk. I've got it linked below. Check them out. Try them out for 14 days for free. While you're here, be sure to subscribe to my channel and ring that bell. I post videos on Wednesdays. Sometimes I've got bonus content on Mondays. I give writing advice. I bitch about tropes. I talk about tropes that I love. It's lovely and wonderful here. Join us. And my #1 best-selling dark fantasy romance, The Savior Sister, is currently available in audiobook. So if you are super into audiobooks, definitely check it out. And if you're new to Audible, you can listen to TSS for free. I got it linked below. Now let's get into my 10 tips for writing a badass sequel. #1, plan ahead. I know you pantsers aren't gonna like this, but let's be real. You already don't like me anyway. It's so much easier to write a series when you plan it out ahead of time. I'm not talking about the minute details. I'm talking about overarching themes, character arcs, the main plot points and goals for each book within the series. Give yourself a general guideline for how each book is going to progress during this series. I have known many writers who complained that they wished they could go back to book 1 and change some things while they were writing their sequel. If you plan ahead, you don't gotta worry about that, because you probably had the sequel in mind while you were writing book 1. On a related note, #2, use the first book to your advantage. If you know what's coming in the sequel, that means you can plant seeds in book 1. This means teasing a particular event that won't occur until book 2, which will make readers even more eager to read book 2. It also means foreshadowing conflicts that will occur in book 2. That way, once these conflicts arise, they won't feel out of the blue or shoehorned in. You want each book to stand on its own, but the stories still need to be connected. There should be individual strings that weave them together. Create these connections by preparing for the sequel in the first book and giving the readers an idea of what they can expect. #3, a sequel is its own story. You guys have all heard of sagging middle syndrome, which is when the middle of a novel feels boring and pointless. The same can be said for many sequels within a series, especially if we're looking at a trilogy. Book 1 has a goal, book 3 has a goal, book 2 is just some in-between shit. In order to avoid this, the easiest thing to do is make sure every book within the series has its own structure. That means each book in the series has an inciting incident, rising action, climax, falling action and resolution. If you're unfamiliar with structure, I've got 2 videos all about it. I'll link them below. Yes, there is likely an overarching goal throughout the entire series, but the sequel still needs to have its own individual goal. This will make the story feel relevant and necessary, it'll up the stakes, and most importantly, it'll make sure it's not some boring in-between shit. It actually serves a purpose. Number 4, resist the urge to summarize. But Jenna, what if readers are starting on book 2 and they have no idea what happened in book 1? That's their own damn fault. If they didn't want to be confused, they should have read the books in order. That said, I'm only being slightly facetious. It's a good idea to remind readers what happened in book 1, if only for grounding them in certain situations. But you don't need to summarize the entire first book. Simply remind the readers of important events from book 1 as those reminders become necessary. If your character is on the run from the law, remind the readers why they're on the run from the law. Boom, you're done. You don't gotta give an entire recap. Just bring up the points if and when they matter. Number 5, don't regurgitate. Sometimes sequels are essentially a regurgitation of the first book. In book 1, Prince Felix has to save the land from a fire dragon. In book 2, Prince Felix has to save the land from an ice dragon. Wow, completely new stuff! Get it? 'Cause one's fire and one's ice? There needs to be a new story here. Yes, there will be similarities to book 1 because it's a sequel. You'll likely have a lot of the same characters and some overarching subplots and themes. That's to be expected. But you still need to deliver a new book, something with stakes you haven't yet explored or characters they haven't yet met. All in all, the plot shouldn't be a mirror of book 1. If they wanted the same story, they'd just read that book over again. And number 6, don't be afraid to work with what you got. This may sound contradictory to the last point, but hear me out. There are few things more annoying than reading a sequel and thinking, wait, what happened to that one character? Or that one subplot? You can't completely abandon concepts from the first book without warning or explanation. If your main character has a sister in book 1 and then suddenly there's no mention of her in book 2, people are gonna notice. So consider that when you're writing a sequel. Are you introducing a new character to play a role that your MC's sister could easily play? Ditch the new character and let the sister play the role. And if a concept or character doesn't have enough meat to be worthwhile in that story, see if you can fix that. That means either providing a logical reason why that character or concept is absent, for example, the sister went away to boarding school, or it means giving the character or concept a greater role. Yes, it's important to keep things fresh, but don't entirely ditch everything you've already got. Remember, people are reading the sequel because they loved book 1. Number 7, new character arcs. Your characters should not be the same people they were at the start of book 1. Remember, shit happened. They likely changed, and that should be reflected in book 2. Now, I'm not recommending you completely betray their personality. Things have to be reasonable, but you need to take into consideration the natural progression of their character arc. What happened in the first book, and how will that realistically change them as a person? How will that create new internal struggles, new traits, new ways of thinking? Think of it as writing one smaller mini character arc per book within a series. This will help to keep things interesting and engaging, but also make it easier for you as a writer. In The Savior's Champion, Tobias starts off in over his head and naive to the deceit of his realm. By the time the Savior's army rolls around, he's not that guy anymore, and his personality needs to reflect that. Number 8, flip shit on its head. Was someone a bad guy in book 1? Maybe in book 2, they switch teams. Did the main character's father supposedly die in a war in book 1? Maybe in book 2, we learn that he's alive and just kidnapped by the enemy. Take something from your first book and dismantle the fuck out of it. Turn it into something readers won't expect, something shocking. This is another situation where planning ahead will work wonders because you can prepare for this flip in previous books by planting little seeds and hints. On a related note, number 9, don't betray your story. But Jenna, you just said a flip shit on its head. Yeah, within reason. We can all think of a sequel where the character is so wildly different, we're just left scratching our head. In book 1, they're pure evil. In book 2, they're like, just kidding, I'm a saint. Make it make sense. For example, if a character is going to switch sides, there needs to be a realistic reason for doing so. If someone flops from evil to good overnight, no one is gonna buy it, certainly not the surrounding cast. Which is another point. If you do flip shit on its head, The characters need to react accordingly. I've read too many books where a character does a flipperoo and everyone just takes it at face value. That's not realistic. People are going to be confused and skeptical. They are going to require answers. Keep things changing, keep things moving, but keep them realistic along the way. And last but certainly not least, number 10, give readers something you haven't given them before. There should be at least one brand new thing in this book, something you have yet to include in any other book within the series thus far. If you've never killed a character off, bitch, now's the time. If you talked about dragons in book 1 but never showed one, have a dragon swoop in. If your main character doesn't get to bone in book 1, guess what they might be able to do in book 2. This tip goes beyond death, dragons, and penetration. You also want to create new questions within this story. Every book within your series should create new questions. Hell, every chapter within your series should create new questions. The point of fiction is to keep your readers interested and entertained, and offering something new and different is the #1 way to do this. So that's all I got for you today. A huge thank you to Lorene for requesting today's topic. If you'd like the chance to have a video dedicated to you, or if you want access to tons of other awards, check me out on Patreon. You get to watch my videos early. You get to participate in our private writing group. We've got live streams. We've got signed books. It's awesome. I have my Patreon linked below. And a huge thank you to NovelPad for sponsoring today's video. If you want to check out an easy to use novel writing software that has amazing features like pro writing aid integration and goal setting and that sweet chapter organization, definitely check out NovelPad. You can try them out for a free 14-day trial. There is no credit card required, which means no risk. I've got them linked below. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel. I post new videos on Wednesdays, and if you want to be alerted as soon as I upload, ring that bell. The Save Your Sister is available in audiobooks, so if you love audiobooks, definitely check it out. And if you are new to Audible, you can listen to TSS for free. I've got it all linked below. And be sure to follow me on social media. I'm on Instagram, Tumblr, Facebook, BookBub, and of course you can tweet me at Jenna Moreci. Bye!
Hey everyone, I'm Emma Tigan, narrator for The Save Your Sister, written by Jenna Moreci. If you enjoy her channel and want to hear more writing advice and updates about her books, be sure to subscribe and ring the bell. That way you'll know as soon as her content goes live.